Ooh, there we go. All right, I really like this. I really like this program for recording. By the way, hello everyone. It is me, Joel Clark. I'm used to just kind of looking. Yeah, it's a little better. Anyways, me, Joel Clark, creator of Lone Wolf Fist, and very soon Acid and Steel. I just wanted to pop on here for my little monthly thing with you guys to show you the whole document. As you guys know, a little while ago, I posted up the general plan and outline I had for the Hexcrawl, and I started, I did a little sections, and I did like a big blank page count thing. So I'm going to show you how that was going. It's actually helped me a lot to be productive in terms of consistently getting some done every day. So as you can see, I've actually got like page after page done. I don't really feel that I'm not really circling back to these very often. I'm getting them done and then moving on to the next thing. I am finding that I kind of feel as I'm going through this and thinking about this with my game master brain, I'm kind of feeling like, oh, okay, I feel like I could use like a little brief breakdown of what hexes these different things are. So if ever there's any question about, okay, well they're in this hex, what is that? I'll be able just to look at this and have an idea right away. So I think I might actually pull some of the images from the actual hex crawl itself, like this thing, and because those are individual hexes that I designed. They're not like one block; they're like a bunch of little blocks, and I can grab some of those and put them next to these and do a little bit more design and layout with this. This looks a little cramped. You'll notice it's in one column layout instead of two column layout. I wouldn't mind making this breathe a little bit more, maybe making it a little bit easier on the eyes. I'm able to be much more experimental on this new rig that I got a couple of months ago because it's new. It's not super laggy. I've got new versions of Affinity, the Affinity 2 with all this, so I've got like the latest stuff with them, and those are very big programs. I've barely scratched the surface of any of them. Publisher is pretty much comparable to the first publisher. It's got a couple more bells and whistles, but for the most part it's the same. It's just kind of cleaner and easier overall, so I'm a really big fan of it so far. I continue to be frustrated that there's no shortcut. For a column break, you've got to go all the way to text, and then go to insert, and then breaks, and then column break. Line break has shift return, but column break does not. So that's frustrating. And I'm certain there's probably some kind of way to put a shortcut in there, but I don't feel like putting that much effort into it. Anyway, let's see here. After rereading Yoon Soon, I was struck by how much it tells you exactly what you're supposed to use its content for. I didn't realize that the first time that I picked through it. It wasn't in my memory whenever I was just thinking about it. So I actually have the actual book, not the new Kickstarted one, which is coming in the not too distant future. Oh, actually, I think I got a PDF of that not too recently ago. I need to check that out. But no, the old one, the original one. And I'm looking at it, and it made me realize that I needed to have something like that for mine, so that I've been writing these introductions to what does a adventure in a given place look like and feel like. Some general advice on how to use the different regions and what these are supposed to do. Looking back on my own lore chapter in the core book, sometimes I'll put things like the dangers and dooms in there, and I didn't really give any indication of how those are supposed to be used. They're just, oh, there's big monsters there, I guess. So that's not very useful in terms of like running something. So this hex crawl is meant to kind of give you an idea of what I want you to be doing as a GM and how I intend you to run a sandbox style campaign with the tools I give you in the core book, and the additional tools I give you here. So I've got much more specific, like over here, I'll tell you really specifically what you're supposed to use these things for and when you will use them, and I've got all these wonderful breakdowns of that. Yeah, here's the urban crawls. This is a much more concise urban crawl thing than the big blog post I did. Here's the hex crawl. And I opted to keep the actual hex procedure very straightforward. It's a little five step thing. But then in the regions, I gave you a bunch of charts, and I was like, okay, well, I need to give them instructions for how to use the charts, but it's not as sequential. It's when you need these, when you have a question or when you have a need, you just use the appropriate chart, and it'll kind of tell you what it does. So this is a really good way to add, say, inhabitants to a hex, or add some fields if you are in need of one. Yeah, and there's also like what kind of encounters that you have and what sort of monsters in these different places. So I'm very pleased with all of that. I've got I just wrote Vitriol Paradise, which is the toxic terrain, yesterday, I want to say. I've been working my ass off this week. I'm doing overtime at my job, and I had my kids last week, and I've been doing this. So I've been really burning the wick at both ends. I've also started exercising, and I've changed my diet up, so that's good. Hello, what are you? Look at that. It's just going all about. I think we can get rid of that. This is interesting. These, for some reason it stops being in the right typeface there. I wonder why. It's an Arial. That's not right. Weird. Yeah, the weird stuff you notice whenever you go through it again. It's really useful to go through it again, though, for that very reason, because that doesn't kill a product or anything, but it is kind of unprofessional and sloppy looking if your layout is inconsistent between pages. And, like, honestly, I want to make every product that I make as good as I can make it. Why are all these like this? I feel like there was different masters applied to this or something. I'm concerned. Let's just save that. Does that just keep going? Is that the rest of the document? No? No, there's just some little spat of pages that goes down to 41, it looks like. Wow, that's certainly strange. How peculiar. Well, anyway, I got Betrayal Paradise. I'm done? Is it actually done? The actual charts were done a little while ago, and then I added some guidance on how and when to use the diseases. And I added the intro here, tell you how to use this. Betrayal Paradise is hard mode. It's very, very dangerous here. I started on the Lost City intro yesterday. Noticed that I copied the word disintegrated and moved it over so that I have the right typeface and everything there. And yeah, so I've got to finish up Places of Power. I actually did the Curses and Ghostly Tricks. I was sitting on the couch watching Trigun with my kids, so I'm really pleased with that chart. But yeah, I've got to flesh this out today, is when I'm planning to do that. And then I've got the Jungle, Excarnatia, which I need to completely fill out. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think that the Jungle is going to be very much a tribute to I think it's called the Evil Forest in Nazca Valley of the Wind, where it's kind of defined by the giant insect monsters, the Ohm, that live there and do stuff there. So I was thinking, since it's a hex crawl, I could do a thing where, you know, maybe these things aren't like necessarily a natural force. They were something that was created to kind of combat the problem of the growing wastes, represented by Vitriol Paradise, and they slowly convert it back into something livable. So maybe Vitriol Paradise extended as far as the entirety of the city in the Lost Ruins, but these things kind of converted it back to thriving jungles, and now they create like this borderland between the different parts of the hex crawl. And I was thinking I could put a hex somewhere within the city where the original laboratory where these things escaped from could be like a Jurassic Park kind of thing, and I think that would be neat. So look for that if you happen to be wandering around in the Lost Ruins. And yeah, so I want it to be kind of defined by these giant bugs. I might not have any inhabitants. It might just be monsters. I was thinking that might be kind of cool to sort of differentiate it. Also, it'll reduce my workload a little, so I might drop inhabitants and just make places to fight and, yeah, like features and things like that. Also, if you look at the map, I've only got a pretty thin line of this that acts as a borderland. I might make it a little bit chubbier. Might make that a little thicker. I mean, like, it works fine as a borderland, but like I've only got one really dense part where it's just this, so I feel like maybe it should be a little bit thicker. I don't know. I might have second thoughts about it. Anyway, so I need to do that one. I'd like to do that one today. I'd also like to do some Zyad, or this I have stuff for. I realized this was the other hard mode, and I decided it was going to be because in Yunsuan, in their mountains of the moon, there's yeah, here it is. There's this discussion of these crystal dragons that live there, and you as a GM are supposed to be the person that figures out exactly what they're all about. Well, I thought, like, well, why don't I give my take, what I would do with them? And so I made 7 squabbling dragon siblings, and they all have very different ideas about how to run their little societies. And they're just ferociously, they hate each other. So, like, they all have their own little mini society, and they're all, like, on the verge of collapse and just barely propped up by these dragons. And they can all grant wishes, like the dragon in Dragon Ball Z, which I think is fun. Yeah, and so I have, like, all these ideas about what to put here right now. I've got, like, yeah, I've got a bunch of fields that I put down and some horrible death weather, so I'm going to transliterate all this onto the page. This is also where all the ghostly tricks and traps got written down. By the way, if you are designing, not necessarily writing, but, like, designing, just have yourself pen and paper ready, like a little notepad, and you can just scribble down ideas, and then later on when you get in front of the screen and you're going to be working on it, you'll just be plugging and playing, and that'll be a very productive way to continually put content on the page. I found that to be very efficacious. And the labyrinth is done. It needs an intro, so I want to make sure I'm grabbing this and making an intro out of it. Let's see. There we go. This doesn't have to say anything in particular. There we go. Doesn't need to be particularly nasty. There we go. Boop, boop. And then we'll do the intro for this one. Or, like, the tunnel crawling is its own entry, so I'll reference that here. And then I'll, again, describe how the GMs can use this to kind of circumvent the hex map a little bit, because they're going under it. This I really like. I think this one's complete. I don't think I really need anything else here. So that just needs an intro and some description about how it's going to be used, and then it's done. And the Zyad here is almost done too. So really, as far as actual regions I've got to fill out completely from scratch, it's basically as Carnadia here, just the jungle. And actually, that's not too bad. I kind of like the way that looks. It could be a little thicker around here, but I don't want to eat too much. I don't want to eat too much of this or too much of this. So I think this is pretty good. So yeah. And you can also see here where I've got these wonderful... I stole the idea for this particular entry style, and I noticed that there's 2 points of interest minimum per hex. But I stole this particular style from Carcosa. So it's got the same thing where it's got just this wonderful intuitive layout where you can just flip a page and all the info you need is, like, right there. So most of these entries are going to be very small. There's going to be like, oh, there's a monster here. You know, there's 12 tribesmen here. There's a ruin here. Nothing huge. Like, a few of them will be pretty chunky, but for the most part, they're going to be very, very simple. And these, I think, are actually going to go pretty fast. There's a lot of them. If you scroll down, there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of these. Like, lots and lots and lots and lots. But I actually think they're going to go faster than you'd think. Because, again, many of these are just, there's a monster here. There's some guys here. There's a weird point of interest here. There's something you can see from the distance here. You know, doesn't have to be huge. Some of them are going to be big. But mostly what I want with this whole section here is whenever your players are going through this, I want them to have a reason to spend a plot arc, up to a plot arc, in any given one of these hexes. I think that's a reasonable goal. I don't know that each one is actually going to be plot arc worthy or interesting enough for a plot arc, But it's not up to me to determine that. It's up to what the players grab onto. They find a weird NPC or a cool monster or some kind of weird mystery or something, a door they can't get in, whatever. You know, like, that's the kind of stuff that intrigues players and gets them, like, connected to it. And I want you to be able to just kind of roll with it. Like, these are just all basically, like, rooms in a big old dungeon, kind of. And it's just like, okay, they went to 0208. I wonder what's there. And you just skip ahead to 0208. And you just see. You know, I want it to be as easy as that. Oh, I need something for this hex. I guess I'll go to the regions. Oh, they want to go underground? I'm going to go to the tunnels. I really don't... Like, I want this to be, like, a no-brainer, no-prep kind of thing. Just run from the seat of your pants, you know? So anyway, yeah, there's that. Here's the urban crawl sheets. You guys have seen these. This needs a little help. Obviously, I don't want this to be the final way that it looks. But, I mean, kind of generally, that's what I want to see. I want to see... Let me see if I can actually move this bit. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, so generally, I want to see these hexes here. But I don't want it to look exactly like this, but you get the idea. Just Control-Z that. Oh, there we go. I really like most of this. I might change this layout just a little bit, just so it's a little more friendly. Right now, it's a little cramped. It's not terrible, but it's a little cramped. But yeah, that's that. And then of course I want to do the NPCs. I've only got one urban crawl. I should have like several. Because there's this one, and then I've got some cool places here, which I'm probably going to put Havoc King's Tomb. I'm probably going to put... Yeah, so Hell's Antechamber I actually want to put in Sciader. And then Havoc King's Tomb I want to put in the in Vitriol Paradise. Yeah, I think these are all supposed to be urban crawl sheets. I should probably put some more blank templates in here. And there's some NPCs. There's a Fist Bastard. I really like that that's it. It's just not... You don't need a whole lot. Oh boy, that's wrong. I don't think 8588 is a thing. Was I trying to do 85? It must have been. Yeah, it's got to be 85. Actually, I've got it open. I don't know why I'm worrying. Yeah, I was looking and seeing what overeating would give you. Spleen and stomach internal imbalance. Just for the record, in case you were wondering. There's 75. Zoop. Look at that. 5 gateways. Yeah, I'm good. It is 85. Welcome to my world. I like this little bit of fluff right here. I might cut this entirely, just for space reasons, but I like having a little... I'm usually not a big, like, write an intro, write fluff kind of dude, but especially with stories. Like, a lot of times, like, I'll write lore in a fun, evocative way that's very, very brief. That's legitimately a piece of fiction that I wrote. It's incredibly small, but whatever. Oh, I filled out the bestiary with some monsters here. So you can see that I've got, in addition to some formatting problems over here, I've actually got some really decent ideas about what kind of monsters that I want here. I did dry mummies and wet mummies, which I'll have to stat out and name in more appropriate ways. But yeah, so I actually have a really nice bestiary, treasury, which has at least some cool artifacts in it. And then I've got the tacked on Bounty Hunter's Rule, which I kind of fell in love with, and I want to make sure I'm putting in here. But that's it. I just wanted to get on here and show you like what the progress is looking like with that. I'm actually really pleased with it so far. I'm looking forward to, over the next day or two, finishing up the regions, and then I want to immediately dive into filling up the hex map. I think that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom, like... just fill in each one, like what's here, what's here, what's here. And I might go in and move them around a little bit later, but I think I probably have about 200 just little ideas of stuff that could be there. And I'm pretty sure I can work within the confines of what I've already established and just add maybe just a little bit more and make something that's both vibrant and also that's like cohesive, so it doesn't feel like just a bunch of random stuff every time you walk over a hex. I also want to do that thing that's proposed in a lot of hex crawls where you have like 3 hexes that all have kind of a relationship. So depending on which one you encounter first will determine like what that how that manifests for the players. I think that's one of the great things about hex crawls is not getting all the pieces to the puzzle and kind of like having to engage with the hex crawl to get the next piece. I think that's nifty. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm very tired. I'm taking a nap, and then I'm going to go back to writing. So I'll talk to you guys later.